The African Deep Dive podcast is brought to you by the African Technology Policy Studies Network. This podcast explores how science, technology, and innovation can drive sustainable development and global inclusion in Africa.
All right, so today we're diving into climate finance.
Really getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and thankfully it won't be all about the numbers. We're going to break it down like, why does this even matter? Where is the money going or not going, as the case may often be?
Yeah.
And what does it all mean for, the planet?
Right.
We'll be looking at an article called Transforming Climate Finance into Global Action.
Oh.
By Wetland Muhataya.
Wetland Muhataya, yeah.
He's a climate expert from Kenya and has some really interesting thoughts.
Well, this is definitely a timely deep dive. There's so much talk about it, but is it actually happening? Are we seeing action on the ground?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've all heard about that $100 billion pledge that developed countries made way back in 2009 to support climate action in developing nations.
Yeah.
And there was a report, I believe it was a 2020 OECD report, that showed by 2018 they were still short.
Oh, wow.
Only $79.6 billion.
Still a lot of money, but...
Right. Some people might say, hey, that's a lot of money. But is it really enough to actually tackle this, massive global crisis?
Yeah, and especially in those places that are really feeling the effects the most.
Exactly. And it's not just about the amount.
Right.
It's where's it going?
Yeah, where is it going?
And how
is it being used?
Exactly. And, developed nations kind of have a bigger responsibility to help because... historically,
polluted more.
They've colluded more. Exactly.
Historically.
But that idea of fairness, turning that into action, that's proving tricky.
Well, that's a great point.
It's not easy.
No light to do it.
It sounds like a global balancing act.
Yeah.
Almost.
It is.
Where on the one hand, you have these promises.
Right.
But on the other, developing nations are facing these hurdles.
Yeah.
Bureaucratic hurdles.
Absolutely.
Stringent requirements from international institutions.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound easy.
It's really not easy to access those funds at all.
Okay, so so many nations just don't have the infrastructure to manage these funds effectively.
Exactly. And then imagine, you're having to jump through all these hoops just to get the resources that you need to combat a crisis that we're all facing.
Yeah. And it's like they need it the most.
Exactly.
It's almost like you're given this complex puzzle with missing pieces.
Yeah.
And no instructions.
It's a very apt analogy.
Yeah. So before we get too, bogged down in these challenges, let's look at what climate finance can actually achieve when it works.
Okay.
Because, there must be some success stories out there.
Oh, absolutely there are.
Yeah.
There are great examples.
Okay.
Like Morocco's Noor solar project.
Okay.
This is huge. It's a massive, concentrated solar power plant.
Wow.
One of the largest in the world.
Really?
Yeah, thanks to investments facilitated by climate finance. It's boosted Morocco's renewable energy capacity significantly and reduced their reliance on fossil fuels.
That's incredible.
That's a tangible impact.
Yeah, that is a tangible impact. It's not just about cutting emissions.
Right.
It's about adapting to the changes that are already happening.
Exactly.
I was reading about how Bangladesh has been using climate finance to build cyclone shelters.
Oh, yeah.
And early warning systems.
Yeah, Bangladesh is a great example of how targeted investments can really make a difference.
Wow.
Those shelters and warning systems have literally saved countless lives.
Wow.
In the face of increasingly intense storms.
That's amazing.
That's the power of climate finance when it's implemented well.
That's incredible. It's easy to get lost, in all the doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But knowing that these successes are happening is really encouraging.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the barriers for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned the difficulties that developing nations face.
Yeah.
But what about the conditions attached to the funding?
Right.
Are those always fair?
Well, that's a really good point. And it's a point of contention often. Funding comes with strings attached.
Okay.
Co-financing requirements, predetermined project types,
Yeah.
things that might not align with their recipient nation's specific needs.
So it's not just about getting the money. It's about getting the right kind of support.
It's about getting the right kind of support, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's also the issue of intermediaries.
Okay.
While they can be helpful in, helping nations access funding. They also add layers of complexity, potentially driving up costs and kind of diluting the impact.
So it's getting lost in the middle.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that these funds are reaching the communities on the front lines.
Not getting lost in the bureaucracy.
Not getting lost in that maze of bureaucracy, exactly.
Yeah, and on top of all that, we need transparency.
Yes.
If we can't track where the money is going and how it's being used, how can we even be sure it's making a difference?
Yeah, transparency is essential, absolutely.
Okay.
We need robust systems in place to track these funds and make sure that they're reaching their targets and being used effectively.
So it's not just for accountability.
It's not just for accountability.
It's also for building trust.
It's for building trust and fostering a sense of collective responsibility in tackling this crisis.
So we've got this complex web of challenges, but also this glimmer of hope in these successful projects and the potential for positive change. So where do we go from here? Is there a way to untangle this web and make climate finance truly work for everyone?
There are definitely paths forward.
And
a lot hinges on, recent developments like those discussed at COP29.
Ah, COP29. That's where things start to get really interesting.
Yes, that's where things get interesting. Yeah, COP29, it was kind of like a shot of adrenaline for climate finance. There was a sense of urgency, We need to move beyond those initial pledges and really scale things up.
Okay, so beyond just talking about bigger numbers, what actually came out of it? What makes you say COP29 was its turning point?
Well, for one thing, there was a push to acknowledge that $100 billion goal. While it was a good starting point, it's not enough. The costs of climate action are just going up. We need to be way more ambitious.
Makes sense. I mean, the climate crisis isn't exactly waiting patiently for us.
It is not.
So what are some of the ideas being floated to bridge that funding gap?
Well, there's a lot of buzz around innovative financing mechanisms, like green bonds.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
They're designed specifically to fund projects that benefit the environment.
Wasn't it the World Bank that used green bonds to finance those solar and wind projects in India?
That's a great example, yeah. Green bonds have huge potential, and we're seeing them used more and more. Another interesting approach is blended finance, which combines public and private investments.
So using public funds to kind of entice the private sector.
Exactly.
To get involved in climate-friendly projects.
You got it.
Okay.
It's about using public money strategically to attract larger sums from the private sector. The Global Environment Facility's non-grant instrument pilot. That's a good example of how this can work.
I'm sensing that there's a real shift happening here. Not just in how much money we're talking about, but how we're thinking about getting those funds where they need to be.
Absolutely.
What else is on the table?
Well, there's been some discussion around debt for climate swaps.
Debt for climate swaps?
Yeah, it's a pretty creative solution. Where developing nations essentially get debt relief in exchange for committing to invest in climate-related projects.
That's interesting, like turning a financial burden into an opportunity for positive change.
Exactly.
But it's not all about money, though, right?
No, it's not.
We need to make sure that these funds are being used effectively.
Absolutely. Capacity building is crucial. We need to help developing nations build the institutions and the expertise that they need to manage these funds and implement projects effectively.
So it's about empowering them to take ownership of their climate action strategy.
It's exact.
So it's more than just writing a check.
More than just writing a check.
It's about building partnerships and equipping nations with the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah, it's a partnership. And underpinning all of this is the need for transparency and accountability.
Transparency again.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
We need to be able to track where the money is going, how it's being used, and what impact it's having.
It sounds like it's essential for building trust.
Absolutely.
And ensuring that climate finance is actually achieving its goals.
You got it. But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
Tackling climate finance isn't just the responsibility of governments and financial institutions. It requires a global effort with everyone playing their part. Think of it like an orchestra, with each instrument contributing to the symphony.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So who are the key players in this orchestra, and what kind of music are they making?
Well, you have the climate negotiators hammering out agreements on the global stage, setting ambitious targets, and making sure developing nations have a seat at the table.
So you have folks working on that global level.
Yes.
And then others bring it down to the national level.
Exactly.
Making it work in their own countries.
Exactly. Then you have the technocrats and the financial experts.
Okay.
The ones working behind the scenes to make sure the system functions smoothly.
Uh-huh.
Developing tracking mechanisms, ensuring transparency, basically making the whole thing tick.
Sounds like a lot of moving parts.
It is, but it's encouraging to know that there are people dedicated to making this work.
Yeah.
And don't forget the academics and researchers.
Yeah.
They're providing data-driven insights.
Yeah.
Informing policy decisions
Right.
and helping us understand these complex dynamics of climate change.
Yeah.
And of course, civil society plays a crucial role.
Right.
Advocating for climate justice, holding leaders accountable, and driving grassroots action.
Sounds like a pretty big orchestra.
It is a big orchestra. And here's the most important part.
Okay.
Every single one of us has a role to play in this effort.
Okay.
Whether it's making conscious consumption choices,
Right.
supporting businesses committed to sustainability,
Yeah.
or simply staying informed and engaged.
So it's not just about what's happening at the top levels of government.
It's not.
It's about a fundamental shift in mindset.
It is a shift in mindset.
Yeah, collective realization that we're all in this together.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Transforming climate finance into global action requires a collective transformation.
Wow.
It requires us to recognize that every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a more sustainable future.
That's a powerful message. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of this crisis.
Right.
But knowing that our individual choices can have a ripple effect is really empowering.
And that ripple effect can be huge. And this individual awareness is driving a larger trend, the rise of sustainable finance. We're seeing more and more people wanting their investments to align with their values.
Right.
To support companies that are working towards a greener future.
So it's not just about feeling good.
Yeah.
It's about making a real difference.
It's about making a real difference.
Yeah. With our financial decisions.
Exactly. Ethical investing, impact, investing green bonds.
Uh-huh.
These are all tools that allow us to direct capital towards climate solutions.
Okay.
And contribute to a more sustainable financial system.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in this.
Right.
We have agency.
We do.
We can make choices that shape the future we want to see.
And that brings me to a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Imagine a world where climate finance isn't just about mitigating harm,
Okay.
but about creating a truly regenerative economy. One that not only sustains, but actually enhances our planet.
So not just doing less damage,
Yeah.
but actually making things better.
Exactly. What role can you play in making that vision a reality?
Wow.
How can you use your unique skills, resources, and voice to contribute to a more just and sustainable world?
That's a big question.
It is, but that's something I encourage everyone listening to reflect on.
So we're talking about a future where those ambitious COP29 goals are actually met, you know, where climate finance is flowing effectively and it's having a tangible impact.
Exactly. Imagine a world where renewable energy is powering homes and industries.
Wow.
Globally.
Yeah.
Where communities are resilient to climate shocks and where no nation is left behind in the pursuit of a sustainable future.
It's a powerful vision.
Yeah.
And it's not just about survival, it's about thriving.
It is.
It's about
thriving.
Yeah, where we're not just mitigating the negative impacts, but actively building a better future.
Yes. Think of coastal communities.
Okay.
Protected by carefully designed seawalls, thriving despite rising sea levels.
Wow.
Or arid regions transformed by innovative agricultural techniques
Right.
that conserve water and restore degraded land. That's the kind of future we're aiming for.
So climate finance isn't just about damage control.
Right.
It's about creating opportunities,
Yes.
building resilience, fostering innovation.
Precisely. And it's not a pipe dream.
Yeah.
We have the tools and the knowledge
Right.
to make this happen. What we need now is the political will, the collective action, and the financial resources.
These solutions up.
Exactly. And this is where individual action comes in.
Okay.
You know, it's easy to feel like our choices don't matter in the face of such a massive global challenge. But Marhatia's article really emphasizes the powered individual contributions.
It does.
Climate finance isn't just about big investments and international agreements.
Right.
It's also about the everyday choices we make as consumers, investors, and citizens.
So if we demand sustainable products,
Yes.
support businesses that are committed to climate action, and advocate for policies that promote a green economy.
Yeah. We send a powerful signal to the market.
It's like we're all investors in a way.
We are.
Choosing where to put our money, our time, our energy.
And those choices have a ripple effect.
And that ripple effect can be huge.
Huge. And this individual awareness is driving a larger trend, the rise of sustainable finance.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more people wanting their investments to align with their values.
Right.
To support companies that are working towards a greener future.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's about making a real difference with our financial decisions.
Exactly. Ethical investing impact investing green bonds.
Yeah.
These are all tools that allow us to direct capital towards climate solutions.
Wow.
And contribute to a more sustainable financial system.
That's great.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in this crisis.
Yeah, we're not helpless.
We have agency. We can make choices that shape the future we want to see.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Imagine a world where climate finance isn't just about mitigating harm, but about creating a truly regenerative economy.
Right.
One that not only sustains, but actually enhances our planet.
Wow. So not just doing less damage, but actually making things better.
Exactly. What role can you play in making that vision a reality? How can you use your unique skills, resources, and voice to contribute to a more just and sustainable world?
That's a big question to end on.
It is a big question, but it's something I encourage everyone listening to reflect on.
It reminds us that we all have a part to play in this, and climate finance is more than just numbers and mechanisms. Yeah, it's about our shared responsibility for the well-being of our planet.
Yes.
And future generations.
And it's a journey we're all on together.
Yeah.
We need to approach it with collaboration, creativity, and a deep sense of interconnectedness.
Okay.
Knowing that every step we take, no matter how small, can move us closer to a brighter future. That's a great way to put it. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of climate finance.
Thank you.
We hope you've gained valuable insights and a renewed sense of hope that together we can turn the tide on climate change and create a more just and sustainable world for all.